Okay.
Should I bring the books?
We don't need 2 books today. So I want to, 2 people asked me to explain. 2 people asked me to explain what I said last week. Looks like they listened to the tape. Let me explain something. What the Bekita Lochis explains very clearly about Emunah Tzaddikim. You know, one of the things that he brings out in the Kita Luchas about Purim is how much Klal Yisrael came to the realization how much we must rely on the Tzaddik. If Klal Yisrael would have listened to Mordechai HaTaddik and not gone to the meal, the whole thing wouldn't have happened. And they went, and Mamish, Klal Yisrael knew they're in a desperate situation, and he got Klal Yisrael to daven, to cry, and to go Zetainis, and he saved them. That's when Klal Yisrael saw you must rely on the tzaddik. And I added that this is you see, till now there was a nevuah would be mavsam. After beginning of Hashem, there was no more nevuah. Everything we have to rely, you have to rely the tzaddik, the G'dor Ador. This is why, Mordechai was the first tzaddik. After nevuah, it wasn't nevuah, just that they relied and they saw how powerful a tzaddik is. So I want to add to this. I want to explain. I have arrived from the Rambam, where the Rambam says if you don't have a minute in the tzaddik, you're not bikoides. The Rambam? He asked me, where is the Rambam? The Rambam says in the Yid Gimel Ikrim, the Rambam says in the Yid Gimel Ikrim, and it says in Yesod Torah, the person is Megashim Hashem. He thinks that the Rebbeinu Shalom has eyes. It says Ein Hashem, Yad Hashem. If you think that the Rebbeinu Shalom has eyes, is a Geshem, now Pikaitis. The Rav, says there were plenty of people who thought that way. But the Rambam says, you're not Pikaitis. Now, how does the Rambam know that? Now, if the Rambam would have said to me, I know this because I heard it straight in Sinai, I'm a Bikabula. He doesn't say that. The Rambam explains, and Moed Revochim, the Chronim bring down, the Rambam says, if you study godliness, you know it's impossible that the Creator should be a Geshem. It's impossible. Now, the Rambam says, not everyone could study this. Me and you could sit down, and we never get to this conclusion. So the Rambam is saying, you got to trust me. If you don't trust me, you're not Bikoides. The Rambam says, if you Megashem Hashem, you are Bikoides. How does the Rambam know that? The Rambam says, because if you study godliness, you know it's impossible that Rebbeinu Shalom should be a Geshem. Okay, you study it, but I didn't. I'm learning the Chumash. It says, Ein Hashem, Yad Hashem. So the Rambam is saying, and the Rambam says not everyone could get to the depth. But I am the Rambam, who is the Rambam, and if you don't trust me, you're not Bikoides. To see that you don't mamish rely, then it's here you have a Rambam. So you become Bikoides. So this is extremely important. Now, in Breslov Chassidim, we believe that you mekashi yourself to Reb Nachman. He said you could do that, and that also helps a person of Avodas Hashem. Because I believe the light of Reb Nachman shines in the whole world. If I make his kashis to him, that would help me in many ways. Help me. I took this hadinah. Things go bad to a person. It helps in many ways. It helps especially by Avodas Hashem. The koyach of having the close to tzaddik is incredible big. And another thing that Kita Halacha speaks a lot about. The Rebbeinu, there's a very, very, very famous Torah, but Reb Nachman says that the Rebbeinu Shalom sends messages to every person every day, get close to me. Imagine this. Imagine a guy, is not getting along with his wife so well, and his wife sends messages, otherwise, so he sends messages, sends a emoji, some nice emojis, and let's have shalom. The Rebbeinu Shalom sends messages to every person, get back to me. He says, Diber, Masa, and Machshuva. And it explains that the entire Megillah, if you pay attention afterwards, you see how incredible every detail was. There's a famous medrash that the Rekanti brings down. He b'mei Achashverosh. Who is Achashverosh? The word Achashverosh, listen to this. Achres v'reishis shaloi goes on the Rebbeinu Shalom. Achres v'reishis shaloi. Who Achashverosh? Why do you say who? I mentioned last week, I think, who, because that's the three letters missing. But Ein Hashem Shulam and a Kisa Shulam, Achimalav, that means the Hey Vav is missing, and an Aleph. Who Achashverosh? Because because it means after everything is done, we look back and say, wow. I want to tell you a very story a guy told me today. Guy told me that when the pandemic started, he had a panosa, I'm going to go into details, and he lost his panosa. Mamish lost the panosa last year already. Mamish, he was wiped out. He was in the food business. There's totally nothing to talk about. He didn't know what to do. For a few months he didn't, and he found a new panosa. He says, Mazel, there was a pandemic for him. Now I have a much easier panosa, less stressful, and making more money. He says, at the time I lost my panosa, he told me, I was terrified. He has 4 small children at home. The mom is young. He's married. He's 25 years old. His mom is young. And sometimes, sometimes what happens in the end, you look, you see that it's even things are better even. At the end, you see that what you thought was such a disaster turns out to be a great thing. So I mean, that means achris achashveros. What is that? Achris v'reishis. The belongs to the Bani Shalom. But this Emunah we have to have every day, because there's no one who doesn't go through a tough time. There's no such a thing. Every person, sometimes it's worse, sometimes it's better, but life is not a present. We know why we're here for? One thing, to get close to the Bani Shalom. So if we take advantage of it, then that's great. So what Menachem says in a famous story, that you should tell yourself, everything that happens to you every day is vashgocha protis. Even what thoughts came to your mind, like you said your story, and but mainly the Rebbeinu Shalom sending these things is we should get close to Him. That's the main thing. All the Rebbeinu Shalom wants is we should turn. How do we return to the Rebbeinu Shalom? The only way we could get close to the Rebbeinu Shalom is we daven with kavana, and we make Hizbollah. You talk to the Rebbeinu Shalom, because if you don't make God a reality in your mind, what do you mean you love Hashem? Psst. Come on. Sit down. Yeah, if a person doesn't make Hashem a reality, doesn't how do you love something that you're not connected to? So this is the Torah learning helps, davening helps, and mostly taking time and talking to the Bani Shalom. When you talk to Hashem, you make Hashem a reality. And again, so he's saying that just like in the Megillah, every detail in the Megillah was how the Rebbeinu Shalom is helping Klal Yisrael. It means that the Rebbeinu Shalom could have had Vashti have a heart attack and die. Young people have heart attack, got a cancer and died. The Rebbeinu Shalom made it that she should get killed at that meal. That was the meal we sinned. The Rebbeinu Shalom sent the Chosayfa said the Rebbeinu Shalom sent the food in the market right at the meal. We sinned at the meal. He says we're going to make a gzeira now, but right away I'm sending the food. I'm having Vashti getting killed, and how am I getting killed? With the will. So people think Achashverosh wanted to kill, but no. Hashem wanted Vashti to be killed, and he got Achashverosh all cooked up that he killed her. And he had this crazy desire. She should come without clothing. She didn't want. And the whole story, everything is exactly the free will of a person to a great extent is also in the hands of the Rebbeinu Shalom. About that we have a free will. Never forget, we are living in this world to express our free will. That's why we're here. But the Rebbeinu Shalom in the free will, and I would say over this, the Medrash asks, why did Havel deserve to die? What do you mean why Havel didn't deserve to die? Cain was jealous and killed him. No. You can't get killed unless you deserve to die. What do I mean? Cain was he was jealous, but the Rebbeinu Shalom would have not allowed him to kill you if you wouldn't deserve to die. When it says, why was Avner killed? Yoav killed Avner. When it's about, why Avner? Yoav was jealous of Avner. The whole story, he was angry at Avner, he killed him. If he didn't do a sin, he could never get to kill him. So everything that happens to us all the time is an incredible, even though someone did it to you. I always say to people that the pain that when the Rebbeinu Shalom sends us is much more tolerable than the pain someone else sends you. I've often said over the story. I'll say it again. This is a Shitcham Yisrael. I had a doctor who told me that when he was newlywed, got married, he was a workaholic. And his wife one day says to him, I want to get divorced. They had the most peaceful divorce. Never went to court. He begged her not to get divorced, but he says, I blew it. I was not a husband, I was a workaholic. Got divorced, got married to a new lady, much frummer, moved to this neighborhood, then I moved and he was very successful. And 5 years after the second marriage, he came down with cancer. This is about 35 years ago. The side effects was unbelievable. Didn't have such medications as now. His chance survival was only 20%. Baruch Hashem, he survived. He always says to me like this, that cancer, I survived, made me a better doctor, made me humble. Because there was no one to blame. I knew straight that cancer came from Hashem. It's nothing to do with smoking, nothing to do. But my wife, my ex, rejected me, still hurts to me today. See, the Torah wants to tell you that in the thing of the plan, what you're doing all day long, the Rebbeinu Shem is running that too. That's this Taya Megillas Esther. The Hester, it's the biggest Hester Punim. Because when you, but if it's the Texas weather, people say it was Menashemayim. The things you'd say Menashemayim. But when someone hurts you, we don't think about the Shemaim. All the Shemaim is out the window. So what the Megillah is teaching us that everything, in what Mordechai also says, that to remember everything that happens to you and the underlying thing that's happening to you, that the Rebbeinu Shalom is saying, come home to me. Come home. You belong in there. Where's home? Come daven to the Rebbeinu Shalom. Learn, daven. That's exactly what every person has to go. Has this. The Megillah, the Maggid says, Megillah is Megillah the Hester Punim. I want to explain something. A famous word from Chaim Shmulevitz. The Nosson says it come out the same thing in a little different way. Amalek, I mentioned this once. Amalek, the Sefer Tevis of Amalek, Rak Ra Kol Hayoim is the Sefer Tevis of Amalek. That means that people have evil, but Rak Ra Kol Hayoim all day long, all they want is evil is only Amalek. The Sefer Tevis Rak Ra Kol Hayoim is Amalek. Amalek is the one that evil all day long. That's he lives on evil. This is what he wants. This is what he's doing. Imagine Haman sits down with Zeres Ishtoi. And they go over all their, when he sits down, he goes to all, it makes it a cheshbon, an accounting. I am the rich, Haman was the richest person, going to one on the Medrash. Haman was the richest person and one of the 4 great rich people, who was very wealthy, Haman was. Besides he was wealthy, he had 10 children, everyone was a minister. Imagine you have 10 children, everyone is a minister. You have a choshev wife, Zeres Ishtoi, the Medrash says she was a very smart lady. And he says, V'chol zeh aneni shoiva li. All this is worthless. Imagine Bill Gates tells you, how much is he worth, Bill Gates? 180 billion? Yeah. He's worth a billion less, a billion more. He's worth 180 billion. He makes in 1 second more money than you make all your life. He's worth $180 billion. Imagine he would say to you, this writer wrote an article about me, a very negative article about me, and you know what? The whole zeh and then Ishoivali. All this money is worthless because this guy did not write it. Are you crazy? Mordechai doesn't bow down to you. Are you out of your mind, as we say in America? Doesn't bow down to you, Chol zeh and then Ishoivali? You know what the Rizal says? The Chol zeh and then Ishoivali, the Sefer Tevis Yudke Wufke backwards. Choseh and Neni Shoy Beli is Yudke Wufke backwards, because when the Yudke Wufke is backwards, is Midas Adin. So the Chaim Shmulevitz says Amir Digavad. Homan Mena Toyre Menayim. The Gemara says, how do you know Homan? Hamina Eitz Hazeh. It says the Nochash tells the Hamina Eitz Hazeh from this. Did he tell you not to eat? That's what he tells him. Hamina Eitz Hazeh. Did he tell you not to eat? What is that? Hashachas to Homan? So says the Chaim Shmulevitz, Amir Digavad. He says like this. He says the Gan Eden has millions of trees. Millions of trees. You can eat whatever you want. Every tree you can imagine was there. I told you, do not eat one tree. But in the middle of the garden, there's a tree I don't want you to eat. That's the one you want to eat. Did you try the 999 million ones? He could have eaten Eitz Chaim first. He could have eaten Eitz Chaim first. Why? It's the one that I can't have. That's the one I have. Well, there's a koicha klipper. We know from Gamli Chulai. There's a koicha klipper is because I can't have it. That's the one that I want. There are people that always want things that they can't have. That that means that's the same with Human. Can you imagine a guy saying this? All my wealth, I'm worth $180 billion. It's worthless. This guy, the extreme of the Ra is incredible. Ra, calling him the extreme is so Ra. We have to be the extreme Kedusha. We should be Ra, Kodesh Koloyoy. If the clip is so powerful that means there are evil people all day long think about evil. We have to the other way. We have to think all day long, how can I get close to Hashem? How can I facilitate? How can I daven to Hashem? How can I get closer to Hashem? Because I want to tell you something. Everyone is choshev in the eyes of the Bnei Shalom. Look, I always think to myself, when I meditate, I have one of the things that I meditate always, you know how much the sun is bigger than the earth? I think about 3 million Earth fit into the sun. Not bad. Wow. Sun is 3 million. So the sun is humongous. Who is Mishamishu? Is the earth Mishamish the sun or the sun Mishamish the earth? The sun is Mishamish us. So this, but the Rebbeinu Shalom, the Rebbeinu Shalom created the world for one person. One person will recognize Hashem. The Rebbeinu Shalom has such nachas. From every time you do something, you get closer to Him. That's the greatest thing, the Rebbeinu Shalom. It's like, you have a baby. Everything the baby does, wow, right? Baby walked. Baby said, "Ma." The baby said, right? When we used to learn in the office. So you're the one who told me that in the football game, there's 90,000 people in the how's it called, in the stadium, and each time the ball moves just a little bit, everyone goes crazy. Every time you move a little bit closer to Hashem, there's 100 million malachim screaming, "Yay!" screaming for you. Problem is we don't hear it, and we don't get how much millions of dollars they get this place.
More. Don't we get more? Isn't the star up there more?
What did you say? How much again?
Some of them have a $200 million contract.
Okay, we don't get $200 million, but if we get $200 million, I'm telling you, we would be such tzaddikim. We would not waste 1 minute. Imagine they tell you if you do everything right, you $200 million. We would be tzaddikim shiva tzaddikim. The problem is that we don't see anything. One of the things which I learned from Breslov a lot, and I should realize lately, I always say this: we don't see anything. Our tachlis is loy that we don't see anything. We have no idea how long we're going to live. We have no idea what's going to happen to us in 10 minutes. We have no idea what's going to be tomorrow. We hope everything is going to be good tomorrow, but we have no idea. How many people went to sleep and didn't wake up? And they thought that tomorrow would be a great day. We have zero idea when we're going to depart this world, how we're going to depart this world. Nothing. We wish to always, there's such a human nature wish to know the future. The Bnei Shalom says, I don't tell anyone the future. The David HaMelech says, Hashem kitzi, tell me some of my future, midas yumai mahi, how long I'm going to live. The Bnei Shalom says, I don't tell anyone their future. I don't tell anyone how long you're going to live. The Rebbeinu Shalom says, not only that, we don't see when we do a mitzvah, we don't see 90,000 people cheering for us. If we would have seen 90,000 people cheering, we would have been tzaddikim gedolim.
You're supposed to plan for the future.
Yes, you're supposed to, but we don't know. We are totally dark in the future. No one could tell you what's going to be tomorrow. No one can tell you. What?
It makes more sense to plan for
So
today.
that's why you should live on today. That's why in the Krishma, this famous Kitaloch is considered, you should live today. I said in the Daf Yomi today, I always tell this to myself. Today, the sun set with my smile, without my smile, the sun set. Now, wouldn't it be better if you smiled all day long? I always make a cheshbon and nefesh. Let's say today, we didn't smile. Who lost out of not smiling? The only one who goes out sometimes is our spouse because we're in a bad mood. We let it out our spouse, unfortunately. But if you're in a good mood and if you fake it, we had a whole day to live. Imagine we could relive today. Someone tells you today, let's say some of you had a tough day. I had a shtickle tough day, not so bad, but some of you had a tough day. Someone said, you could do over today. Wouldn't you be smiling all day long? I said, why am I not smiling? I'm living today. I'm cheating myself. Like I said, depression is a mental illness. No one went to the doctor, I'm smiling too much, I need some medication. That's true. Because, simcha is a healthy thing, but you don't become happy by itself. The default of humans is to be kvetchy and unhappy. Remember, that's the rule. We love to criticize, we love to see the negative things about life. We love to say our life is terrible. I love when people say, point out, we live in a life that no one could have ever dreamed. Yeah, but they didn't have such stress as we. How do you know they didn't have such stress? You were there living in the farmland? How do you know? But they have to say that. No, now it's more stress. They're nechtige talk. They were plowing away, not knowing if they're going to have the plowing away. Didn't know if there's going to be rain and if there's going to be food on the table.
So why do we look for the negative? Why?
That's the curse that Adam Rishon got after the Chet. People always look at things in a negative way. The first thing they notice is the criticism. That's the first thing. You look at something, it's not good. You drive through, no one drives down the street. Yay, I'm alive. I'm alive. I'm healthy. I have children. Things are working out for me. I'm single, getting to get married. But people wake up. Do I have to really face the music today? Yeah, you have to face the music anyways. Why don't you make it into good music?
I thought a lot about the Ruth said that, the Ruth said that they used to have, they didn't have money for Pidyon Aven, right? So recently I was thinking, I was like driving and I was thinking, career planning, I'm not saying right? So it's like, okay, I'm here, but I really want to be there. I was thinking to myself, Laura, you're really, really rich. You have enough money for Pidyon Aven.
That's very important. We should look the things to be unhappy about. You drive down the street, when am I going to drive that type of a car? It's like this is what life is all about. Life is all about when I'm going to drive such a car, when I'm going to live in a big house. If that's what your life is, you're a sad situation. You have to tell yourself, my life is, I'm living today. I'm doing mitzvahs. Every day that you do mitzvah, but the mitzvahs that you did today, that if you go to work, but that's a mitzvah to go to work to make panasa. If you say, I did today a great thing, I went to make panasa to feed myself, my wife, and children, then your whole panasa, the Menachem says, is a different thing. You connect it to the Rebbeinu Shalom. And the Menachem says that if you connect to the Rebbeinu Shalom, you have more tzloch in the business. If you go to business, you say to yourself, I'm doing it l'shem shemayim. It's a mitzvah to make panasa. I need to support myself and wife and children, then the whole panosa gets elevated. But the Yetzer Hara doesn't want you to do that. As soon as you leave the shul, the next minute you forget about Hashem. That's why you got to make his this every day. When you make his this every day, then you can say, my day is, I'm going to, the Kita Lucha says, a famous Zohar Kudish, Anoichi esmach b'Hashem. The Zohar says that Shema Yisrael, Shem Elokeinu Shem Echad, is esmach. It combines the Shema with Echad is esmach. So Noichi esmach b'Hashem. You should be all day happy. I daven today. It might not be the best davening, but I at least came to shul. I put on film. And the more you do it, the more you enjoy it. Instead of criticizing, say, my davening wasn't so good. In Breslov, we believe, don't self-criticize yourself. How you say in English, you should self-motivate yourself. Tell yourself, Baruch Hashem, I did daven, I did learn, I did a mitzvah, I got someone to smile, I'm getting my shtadlus done what I need to be doing. Because then, at the end of the day, it's a machaya then, you live today. But if at the end of the day, you look and say, my davening was no good, and this was no good, and this was no good, then you don't want to wake up in the morning. I don't blame you for not wanting waking up in the morning. But if you say, I had a great day today. And the truth is, we all had a great day. We don't see it. We are busy thinking a great day would be if I hit the jackpot. You know what I mean? If this deal would go through and that deal would go through, and everyone has his cheshbonos. The truth is that we were alive today, and you did mitzvahs, you hit the jackpot today. See, I want to tell you something. No one takes the money with them into the grave. You know what happens to your hard-earned money, which I watched the last few years? The children inherit it and they blow it. You work your kishkas for the money. I just watched someone who inherited $14 million, and 3 years later it's gone. His father was a Holocaust survivor, worked his kishkas out. His kishkas he worked out. They invested here and they threw it over here and they bought something there. Don't worry about your children. Just worry about yourself. Just tell yourself, I have today. So you have it tomorrow. Every time you stop doing that, I am alive. Am I doing Hashem's will? Because happiness has to be connected to something. Now, if your happiness comes that you're gaining more things in life, you're competing with someone, right? If you're competing with someone, what, I mean, is this what life is? How much money you have in the bank? You notice that the rich people are not happy. I was young, and I was lucky to have a father who was always happy. And I remember thinking to myself, why isn't everyone happy? These people came out of the ashes of Auschwitz. And then I thought, if they have money, they have no. They were busy being angry, this investment. And the end, you die with your anger. I once asked an older man, if you look back in life, did you think you went? He says, if I look back in life, it's terrible.
What's that?
My life, I shouldn't have worked so hard, and I didn't give attention to my wife. And why do I have all the money? He was very wealthy. Why do I have all the money? Just headaches. You remember, you're living now. The word is, you have the next. Try to be tomorrow in a great mood. And tell yourself, you get up in the morning, I made a bracha today. It wasn't the best quarter, but I made a bracha today. I got someone to smile. I did some mitzvahs. I davened, talk to Hashem. Take time for yourself and talk to the Rebbeinu Hashem. It's the most powerful thing in the world that you can imagine. The Megillah is Megala, the Hester. The Hester. You know, Reb Nachman, Reb Nusa says, I'm going to explain this. He explains what is the Purim called Purim. Purim is called because of the Goydel. Purim is the lottery. Why is it called after the lottery? You know, the Bnei Yissaschar also asked this kasha. He asked the kasha, normally the human tovim are called on the positive. Pesach, what is called Pesach? The Bansham jumped over. Pesach. Sikkos are Shafti Bnei Yisrael. You know, even Shavuos, because Shevi Shavuos is always in a positive way. Chanukah is also a positive way. Purim is a negative thing. Purim is, he threw a goyim and wanted to kill us. Should have called it, not Purim. You should have called it, like he says. What is Purim? So the Meisel says a very interesting teretz. He says whenever it doesn't say who did it, the Rebbeinu Shalom did it. Vayikvar oisa begai. Who buried Moshe Beni begai? The Rebbeinu Shalom. If it doesn't say, Hippel pi hi goyim. Why doesn't it say who made the goyim? The Rebbeinu Shalom made sure he's the name of Hashem. You sometimes know who's the name of Hashem. Hippel pi hi goyim. The Rebbeinu Shalom made the goyim should come out on the Chodesh Shemesbo. That made the schus of Moshe Beni should help us. The Rebbeinu says, he says, the Zohar Kodesh says, Purim is like Yom Kippur. Then Purim is a higher level. Yom Kippur is Yom Kippurim. The Purim is even a high level. The famous Tikkun Zohar, the Zohar says, Purim is a very, very high level. But you notice both places there's a lottery. Yom Kippur, you play lottery with the two goats, not the sheep. One goes Hashem, one goes, what is this all about? You play lottery over here. Sounds terrible. And the Udapan, so he says, he says, it's a very deep Kabbalistic thing, he says. But what happens is that the higher level you go, there's different nisyonis. Life is going to be always an assignment. That you remember. Life is challenging, no matter what, when, and where. Your biggest tzaddik, you have also your challenges. Till we don't close our eyes, the Yitzhahara is out to get us. Doubt is our problem. He is always awake and we're sleeping. He is always awake to get us. He doesn't need a passport to get in. He slips in. I always tell people that the Yitzhahara slips in. You sometimes get depressed. You don't even know why you get depressed. Depression just sneaks right under the door, and here I am. What happened to me? Why am I depressed? The Yitzhahara.
You're having a great day. You're having a great, and then all of a
sudden, you slip. Yitzhahara always comes. He's always out to get us. So he says, the Mnosson says like this: the higher the level you go, there's going to be always things you have to be careful. The kedusha and the tumah. That's the Emunah, that's the lottery resembles. So remember, every day we have the Purim is to teach us that every day there is challenges for us. There's a Purim, and the Iker is not to forget. What not to forget? You're not to forget we're going to die one day, and we're going to give it to the Cheshbon, and how are we going to look like? Who knows how we're going to look like? Imagine. We have to give the Rebbeinu Shalom a cheshbon. It says, I gave you such a good life. I want to tell you something. We have such an incredible life. It is mind-boggling how good our life is. You read stories, even before the war. I'm not talking about after the war, even after the war, but before the war, people worked the kishkas out. People traveled. See the stories of times of Nachman and Nosson. Even before the war, my father described to me. Life was really rough and tough.
On end, right? The ships.
The people, today, what is love and tough? That we have a headache. We bought a house. The mortgage is too high. We can't. Things that we induce into ourselves. We got to compete with our neighbors. Like someone once told me. The first time I heard this in California, a guy told me I have golden handcuffs. What does that mean? I went and bought myself a house, which I barely could afford, and I have to work hard not to pay the house. At least he was able to see it. So I said, why didn't you sell the house? Yeah, well, go fight with my wife. He says to me, for what? To tell people that you have a big house. To better, I used to joke with him, to tell people you have a museum, because these people only have 2 children. They can't have more than 2 children. They don't have the bracha of children. The more money you make, the less the bracha of children comes. Something like the water changes over here. And for what? Got a big house? For what? Just to show off to people? We don't live our own life. People are busy living other people's life and others. That's not a life. So, what I'm encouraging you is to be besimcha, to be happy, and you try me. I want to give you my challenge. I want you tomorrow to walk around smiling all day long. You tell me at the end of the day, your day wasn't a better day. Ask yourself for yourself. Today, if you would have smiled, what if the day would have been a better day?
But I think part of it is that people are, at least for myself, if I'm looking at it, retrospectively. So if you're doing it prospectively, when you're living in the moment, you're afraid of all the crazy things that can go wrong, right?
It doesn't help you. Doesn't help
It's
you not
true.
to be happy.
Right. But I'm saying, when you look back at your day and you say, yes, if you would have smiled that day,
but
once it's over, it's much easier.
Fake the smile no matter what.
Yeah.
I don't want to have this on tape. I want to tell you something.